Hi, I'm Meredith Sims, and I get the pleasure of running one of John Maxwell's companies that impact hundreds of thousands of people around the globe. Get a pen out and follow along in the notes we provided for you, or if you are a learner like me, don't write, just watch and hear John. Really listen to what he has to say, and then stick around because we have Jeff Altgilbers, who is going to give you a little insight into how the teaching by John is applicable to your network marketing business. Let's go now to the #1 leadership and personal growth expert in the country, author of over 100 books and mentor to thousands, Dr. John C. Maxwell.
Thank you. Wow, thank you very much. Good morning. I want to talk to you in this session about the law of curiosity. And the law of curiosity just basically says growth is driven by wanting to learn more. And one of the things I've never really understood, but I've asked myself a lot as a leader is why are there some people that they seem to be curious and want to learn more and ask questions, and there are other people who seem not to have any sense of curiosity at all in their life. And I've looked at them and I've always thought, life is kind of amazing, life is kind of exciting, and yet I watch a lot of people and they just kind of never really seem to be curious about life, curious about growth, curious about learning. Socrates said that wonder is the beginning of wisdom. And I think there's a lot to be said about the fact that if we're really going to grow, if we're really going to develop, if we're going to be the people we really want to be, there has to be a real sense of curiosity within our life. I can remember as a teenager, and I think this is very rare, but as a kid, even as a teenager, I just didn't sleep in. There was something about, I thought something could be happening while I'm asleep. And I've always felt that way. I've always thought, now I know sleep's very important, so we all know it's important, okay. But my gosh, nothing really gets accomplished much while you do it. And I've always just thought, wow. Yeah, and even as a teenager, when all my friends would be together, sleeping over or whatever, I'd get up. I'd just say, and you have to understand, I didn't grow up in an exciting place like New York City or something where maybe things could really be happening. I grew up in Circleville, Ohio, okay? I mean, a little 10,000 farm town. The only thing that was happening is corn was growing somewhere, you know what I mean? And yet, but there was something within me that I'd just say, what am I missing? What am I missing? And I never wanted to miss out. Now, what's interesting is of course, I wrote a book called Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. And in writing that book, one of my favorite questions and I ask it all the time. I ask this every day when I'm with my team constantly. We'll be talking about something, and I'll be listening, trying to get context. And I'll look at them, and I'll just look at them, and I'll say, okay, what am I missing? Now, here's what I want you to understand. Curiosity tells you that you're missing something. And I know a lot of people, they think they got it. And I never assume that I got it. I always assume that there's something I'm missing that, okay, talk to me. What didn't I get that I need to get? What didn't I learn that I need to learn? And I just think that it just drives me to grow and develop. It's just like there's something out there I just don't know that I need to know. And if I just do that, it just would be better. And so I think curiosity just drives learning to a great extent. I was in college when Bobby Kennedy was assassinated. And I can still remember the next morning reading about it a little bit. And they attributed this statement to Bobby Kennedy, although he is not the one who originated it, but he said it a lot. And the statement that he's credited as saying quite a bit is that some people look at things as they are and ask why. Others look at things as they could be and ask why not. Now, I'm in college, and I can still remember in the paper reading that statement. And there's just something about, how sometimes you read something and it just clicks with you. And I remember reading that, and I said to myself, I'm not going to be a why person. Look at things as they are and just say, why? Because, when you think about it, that's kind of victim-like. That's kind of like, what can I do? And it's kind of overwhelming. There isn't much, and it's beyond me. I said, I'm never going to be a why. I'm going to always be a why not person. I'm going to look at things as they could be and say, why not? Because that's what I call the curiosity edge. When you become curious in a sense of doing something that betters mankind, when you become curious in the sense of going that extra mile and asking those extra questions so that you can really help people, this becomes a tremendous asset to us. I've talked to you before, and I talk a lot about assumption. Because one of the great mistakes that a lot of leaders make is they just lead by assumption. And it's very easy when you've led people for a period of time to start doing that. Because, the phrase, you know them. Oh, my gosh, you know them. Oh, well, of course. And there's almost like, there's times when we assume that we've got it with our people. And I have always said, first of all, you can't lead people until you find people. I mean, it's just kind of basic, but let's start there. And a lot of leaders don't understand that. They try to lead people and they never found them. And if you've never found them, you don't understand why they're going to follow. You don't understand why they want to follow. And it all begins with curiosity, and it all begins with asking a lot of questions. And so when I look at things, I don't look at things as they are and just say why, because that's not a curious question. That's a frustration, resignation question. Why are things like this? Why is this always happening to me? But when I look at things and I ask as they could be, and I ask myself, why not? Now all of a sudden, curiosity begins to be creativity. And when curiosity begins to be creativity, some pretty amazing things can begin to happen. So I'm kind of excited because what I'm about to teach, I think, is just life-changing, okay? I've never taught it before, so I hope it's helpful to you. So when I'm kind of done, I'll ask you if I did a good job, and you may say, I'm curious, could you do that again? Could you go run this by me one more time? Because there is a connection and a link that I began to put together with curiosity that I think I'm learning it. So this is not going to be great. It's just going to be what I'm learning. But I'm just starting to work it. I think there's what I call the curiosity connection. I think that when you take curiosity and connect it to imagination and creativity, when you put those three things together, curiosity, imagination, and creativity, I think those three things, if they're linked properly together, begin to take you and I way beyond ordinary. In fact, those three words, curiosity, imagination, and creativity, they all three explore territory beyond ordinary. They expand thinking beyond ordinary. I mean, when you really get into this, they expand possibilities way beyond ordinary. They help you experience understanding way beyond ordinary. And the key is that these three words together take you and me, and they put us way above average, way beyond ordinary. So let me break it down. Curiosity. Curiosity begins with more questions. You can tell a person is curious by the amount of questions they ask. In fact, one of the things that always surprises me is that when I sit down with people and we just have a little time together, maybe a lunch or something, I always wonder why people don't ask me more questions. I mean, I really do. And it's just always very interesting because, I mean, I've sat down before and had a whole time with people and never asked me one question. And the reason that it always grabs me is because my life is full of questions. I can't imagine 5 minutes of any conversation without questions. I can't even imagine. In fact, I'm not even sure why you have conversation without questions. Unless you think that the best you can get out of a table is something you're going to say. Now, if that's the level of your living and thinking, then that's the level of your living and thinking. You're quite boring. See, I never assume that. I assume that every one of you, if I'm with you for 5, you know what I assume? I assume every one of you knows something I don't know. And I've got to find it. Because if I find it, it would make me a better person. I would grow more. I would learn more. I would be more equipped. I just know. In fact, when I look at you, and you're all leaders in here, I mean, I have a huge appetite to not teach today. I mean, I love teaching. But what I would love to do is just kind of line you all up and just ask you a question and just listen to you and hear what you got to say. Because I promise you, if you want to live a surface life, live without questions. The questions help you to get beneath the surface, to understand the person, and to be able to sense what they sense and begin to feel what they feel. And so curiosity is it's a life full of questions. And when I wrote the book, Good Leaders Ask Great Questions, I was very surprised because the book's done very well. And when I wrote it, I thought, I don't think this book will do very well, but it still needs to be written. Because I find most leaders don't ask questions. You know what most leaders do? They want to cast vision. They want to give direction. They want to tell everybody what to do. And I want to tell you something. If that's the kind of leader you are, you're not only top down, you're pathetic. You're just pathetic. Because every day if you're growing, and every day if your people are growing, the questions will tell you how much you're growing. And we've got to really work harder on asking questions and work a lot less on giving direction. I was in New York City and I was doing a media tour, oh my gosh, for 4 straight days. And in one of the questions that the media was asking me, they were asking me, what has changed in your leadership? I'm in my 60s. They said, in fact, I thought this was a great question. They said, what's the difference between leading in your 30s and leading in your 60s? And I thought, wow, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever asked that before. And I said to them, well, there are a lot of differences, but let me tell you which one I know for sure is the biggest difference. I said in my 30s, I didn't ask questions. In my 30s, I just cast vision and gave direction. I mean, I knew where I was going, and I had my train, and we were going toward the mountain, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, get on board, and let's go. And I'm recruiting people, and I'm bringing them on, and half of them are on the train. They don't even know why they're on the train, you know, and they're just on the train, you know. They don't even know where they're going. It doesn't matter to me. They're on the train. I got them on the train, you know what I mean? Let's just keep going. And I thought, when I was a young leader, I thought that I was supposed to be Mr. Answer Man. I thought what basically a leader did is all the followers were kind of incapable of anything. And they came and bowed at the feet of the leader. And so, amazing, masterful leader, answer the questions of my life. And the leader was just kind of a wise person that sprinkled wisdom all over him, and all was well. Well, what I didn't realize is in my 30s, I didn't have any wisdom. Let's start there, you know. See, when you're young, you don't think you need it. And when you're old, you realize you didn't have it. Isn't that beautiful? So in a sense, I guess you didn't need it if you didn't have it. But the point being, I just thought I had to be Mr. Answer Man and get on the train, and here's where we're going, and this is what we're doing. And as I've grown older, I just quit giving a bunch of direction. If you really want to know where your people are, just live a life of questions with them. And you'll just discover more and just peel layer after layer of understanding. So then when you give them direction, you know how to give them direction because you spent your time asking them the question. So curiosity begins with just becoming a person that asks more questions. Imagination creates options. Now get the picture. Curiosity gives you that fertile field of questions, and imagination begins to create options for your life. And if you were to ask me what my favorite word is, it could be options. I love options. I mean, just please don't box me in here. Just let's give me 3, give me 4 options. My assistant Linda, of course, she handles everything in my life, but she knows very much. John wants options. So when we're talking about what we're going to do, where we're going to go, here you could do this, you could do that, or we got this, because I love it. And that's what imagination helps you understand. There's more than one way to do this, and I want to figure out what are all my options. Now, if imagination gives you options and curiosity asks questions, then this is what really makes this thing work. Creativity gives you more solutions. And this is where success is. Success is in having more than one answer. So many years ago, because I'm just so passionate about curiosity and expanding your learning. Many years ago, I developed this whole, I'm talking about, this is like old. This is like 30 years old, okay? Because I used to have staff members they'd bring me problems. They say, I think we got the problem over here. I think we got a problem over here. I think this is a problem. And they kind of looked at me as like Mr. Problem Solver. Oh, great one. What will we do? And one day I got so tired of that, I said, I'll tell you something. It's going to do a very simple rule. Never bring me a problem unless you have 3 solutions. That changed everything. That changed you talk about creativity. You talk about helping people expand. You talk about options. And I told them, so they'd say, well, I want to talk about an issue. I'd say, do you have 3 solutions? Well, not yet. Well, I don't want to talk about it. You go back. When you got 3 possible solutions, you come back and talk to me. I am telling you, it changed everything. Because it made them creative, it made them curious, it made them begin to use their imagination, and they began to understand, and they began very quickly to begin to be able to solve problems themselves. But hey, no problem without solutions. And I said, when you bring the solution, this is the killer. One of the 3 has to have you involved in it. Oh, that is so stinking good. It really is, isn't it, huh? And so you can see I'm in love with questions, and I'm in love with options. Why? Because it gives me more solutions. Hey, here's the way this works. Less questions, less options, less solutions. So if you want to have a life full of answers and solutions, you got to ask questions. You got to, that which creates options, which allows you then to begin to have all kind of ways. So how do we do this? How do we develop creative people? How do we become creative? But how do we develop creative people? Because let me tell you something. Your strength is going to be in having people out there that are creative with what your business is, that come with some good thinking and good, fresh answers. So how do we do that? Number 1, be willing to absorb the risk of having those people on your team. Because what I have found about creative people is they make people that are not creative very nervous. Very nervous. Just like average people want you to stay average, boring people want you to stay boring. And so you get somebody that's got creativity and they got a lot of answers, and you've got to protect them. You've got to protect them. And I've done that all my life. In fact, when I get a real creative person, I'll just tell myself, now this person's really creative, and they're going to come up with some wild ideas, and it's okay, and they're going to come up with some ideas that are just not going to work, but they're going to come up with something that's going to be really great. I remember I had a guy in my staff in San Diego, Skyline. His name was Randy, and nobody liked him. And I wouldn't even let Randy come. I wouldn't even let Randy come to the typical staff meetings because they were too boring for him. And I just said, no, Randy, you stay away. This is not good for you to be in this kind of an environment. And you need to just keep out there on the edge and create programming for me and think. And the rest of the staff member, they hate it because they say, well, he doesn't have to come to staff meetings. I said, of course not. He's not boring like you are. You've got to come to staff meetings. You got to come to staff meetings. When you get really creative and you come up with, well, Randy doesn't work as hard as us. I know, but he gave us a $2 million idea last month, and you haven't given us a $2 idea. You know what I mean? So you got to see, I love these people who think they got to treat everybody equally. Where did you ever get such a stupid idea? Well, now, after all, I want to treat everyone the same. Why don't you be a socialist and run for president? Hello? Treat everybody the same? Where did you ever get this idea? Leaders always put their time and their effort and energy to the people that give them the highest return. So do coaches. Come on, talk to me for a moment. Remember when Michael Jordan played? I don't know, you're too young to remember that. Do you remember Michael? Wait, if the game's tied and they only got 5 seconds left, what's Coach Jackson going to do? He's designing the play, but everybody in the arena knows what he's designing the play for. Michael's going to shoot. He's got the best player on the team. Michael's going to get the ball. We know he's X and Oing, but we know where the ball's going to be. You don't have to be in the huddle. This is an IQ test. Let's say the huddle's about to break. The huddle's about to break, and some guy that scored 2 points raises his hand and says, you know what, Coach, I feel bad. What do you feel bad about? Well, it's not fair. What's not fair? Well, Michael shot the ball 15 times, and I've only shot it twice, and I think it's my turn. I mean, can't you see the coach said, oh, my gosh, I am so sorry. How could I have missed that? You're so right. It's your turn to shoot. Yes, Michael, take the ball out. You pass it to Joey here, and Joey's going to shoot. No. The coach is going to look at Joey and say, shut up. In fact, not only shut up, go to the locker. In fact, not only go to the locker, just go right on to jail. Go right on to, get out of here. Well, why? The coach is paid to lead a team to win games. He isn't paid to make sure it's your turn. But you got to protect those people. Because I want to tell you something, average people don't like them. Second thing you got to do to develop creative people is be comfortable with half-developed ideas. You just have to be. You say, but they're only half-baked. It's okay. And if you're not comfortable with those half-baked ideas, let me just help you out. You've had a bunch of them yourself. And see, when I was a young leader, I wasn't. In my early years, I wanted to make sure that I had it right. I love these people. I want to make sure I have it right. I mean, then I go, okay, here we go. Want to make sure I have it right. Well, I haven't said anything about it because I want to make sure I have it right. And so I used to hold an idea to myself and not share it with anybody until I thought it was right. Until one day I learned something. You get 5 people in the room, and you share something that you have been thinking on for 5 months. And you throw it out to those 5 people, and in 5 minutes, one of them will tell you something that you didn't think about. Happens all the time. I'm constantly going to my team, and I'm constantly sharing with them my thoughts and my ideas. And it used to be I'm going and sharing with them my thoughts and ideas so they'll follow me. Now I go and share with them my thoughts and ideas so they'll add on to my thoughts and ideas so that when I walk out, there are better thoughts and ideas. This is huge. Some of my best thinking has been done by other people. Huh? Come on now. You've done the same. In fact, some of you right now, you're saying, this material is so good. I can hardly wait to go teach it. Oh, my gosh. This is so stinking good. I wish I could go home right now. I could just pull them together and say, oh, I got some good stuff. Now, let me tell you something about what you're getting. I taught this to you. But you don't really need to constantly get under this heavy burden of thinking you always have to give me credit. You remember when you're in college and they said, if you steal from resources, you steal, you plagiarize it. Every college freshman, they think they're going to go to prison. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, I quoted him. I wonder if I'm going to come pick me up and take me to jail today. Here's the process that you can work. Let's do a deal, okay? Here's the process that this works. The first time you use some of my stuff, just say John Maxwell said, and then do it. Now, the second time you use my stuff, you just say, it's been said. And the third time, just get in front of your group and say, I've been thinking. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, John, you're really free with your stuff. You know why I'm free with my stuff? Because I have a bunch of stuff. You see, if I only wrote one book, I'd protect it. If I only had one thought, I'd put a fence around it and put some junkyard dogs to protect it. You see, if you don't have much to deliver, you'll protect it all of your life because you don't have much to deliver. But if you have a lot to deliver and you keep thinking and creating and writing and developing thoughts and ideas, you can have an abundance mindset. You can just say, help yourself. I think I'm going to go do some more cooking this evening. I think I'm going to, have that pie. I think I'll go bake me another pie. And it's just a beautiful. Now, all of this is the result of curiosity. All this is the result of creativity. The third thing is if you really want to develop creative people, I got to be careful how I say this, but really don't have a rule book. Don't have a rule book. And you say, well, you got to have rules. Okay, have one rule. And that one rule should be, let's not have any rules. Okay? Now, that bothers insecure people really a lot. When I get on this, insecure people really kind of get nervous. But I'm just saying, I'm not anti-rules. It's just that if you just got a whole bunch of stuff and legislation and structure and stuff, it just wears people out. Now, just very simple. Creative people have got to have some room. They've got to have some room. And I want to say one more thing. If you really want to develop creative people, encourage ideas from the bottom up. The bottom up. What I found out is you got to get around the people that are around you. The people that are around you, you got to get around them. And the reason why, the people around you have an agenda, and their agenda is their agenda. And Jack Welch and I have had conversations about that, of course, and he said, John, when I was CEO of General Electric, I would go into my division plants. I'd go in and see the manager of that plant, talk to him for 15 minutes and say, okay, I'm going to go down and see the people. He said, I'd go down to the assembly line. I'd walk among all those workers. I'd talk to them. I'd ask them questions. And he said, I found out really quickly what was happening in the plant. You got to have a way to get around the people that are around you. Again, just okay, and I can give you dozens of examples. When I was at Skyline, when we would bring in new members, the most important question we would ask a new member is this: what would you change about this congregation? And they'd look at it and say, well, I'm glad you asked that, because you do that, and I can't figure that out. Why do you do that? And we'd say, oh my gosh, why do we do that? And let me tell you something. 90% of all my ideas and creativity came from people who just joined the team. Most people, if they've been on your team 2 years, they're worthless for creativity for you. They've already fallen into the rut. And they just do things without asking questions, and they just kind of are, you know what? They're just fat, dumb, and happy. And to develop creative people, you got to get around the people that are around you, and you got to get down to the bottom. And so how do we develop it? How do we develop this kind of creativity? How do we develop this kind of curiosity? Okay, for ourselves, just let me give you 2 or 3 quick things. One, have a beginner's mindset. And you say, what's a beginner's mindset? A beginner's mindset is as if you know nothing. Just be like a child. Be childlike. Just don't go into this, been there, done that, been there, done that. A beginner's mindset is, I've never been there and I've never done that. Golly, what's going to happen now? I can hardly wait. You know what I'm saying? They're so excited. They've done it 5 times. They're boring. Number 2, learn something new every day. Learn something new every day. When's the last time you learned something for the first time? When's the last time you did something for the first time? Every day, learn something. Have something fresh. You know, if you go to the restaurant and they look at you and say, you say, okay, what's kind of special here today? Well, we don't have anything special today. We haven't had very many people here, so the food we got's about a week old. You'd say, well, excuse me, I don't want to eat here. Isn't it amazing? You wouldn't go to a restaurant that didn't have fresh food, and you go to companies and organizations who haven't had a fresh thought for a month. And you eat it. So what are you learning now? What's the newest thing that you learn? Number 3, make failure your friend. Just make failure your friend. Just embrace failure. It's become really a tremendous friend of mine, and I'm very grateful for it. Because failure has taught me, it's just taught me so much. And when you come to failure, instead of saying, how can I go through this? Ask yourself, how can I grow from this? If you go through it, you're enduring something, and you'll get out on the other end. But if you're growing through it, as you're going through the process, you're learning. You're doing better. Number 4, be comfortable. Be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's just a wonderful thing in your life to just be uncomfortable. And number 5, keep asking questions. Just keep asking. Just keep asking questions. Wow. And when I talk about keeping asking questions, this becomes huge. Look at questions as keys on a key ring. Questions unlock doors. And so the bigger your key ring and the more keys you have, the more doors that you can unlock. And so you just understand that the more questions you ask, the more doors that you unlock. The questions are the keys. Nothing's more valuable. Hey, nothing's more valuable to you in your organization, nothing more valuable in your leadership than a good idea and good questions. And almost always good questions will lead you to that good idea. Now, I brought something with me today that's very special. It's a kit, and I'm just so pleased to have this because this kit is very important to me. Now it cost me $799, and I got this kit. I got this kit back in the 1970s. Okay, and this was my first personal growth kit. It's Dynamics of Personal Goal Setting by Paul Meyer, Personal Success Planner, and I was so excited. It cost $799. Now you have to understand, I made about $800 a month. So get the picture. It took me 6 months to buy this kit. I saved up. We didn't have credit cards back then, and I just saved up and worked hard. And it took me 6 months before I had enough cash to buy this kit. And I was so excited when I got it. And I mean, I opened it all up, and this is just amazing. You'll just see some things here that just crack you up. It had, for some of you young people who've never seen this before, they're called cassette tapes. And I remember taking the first cassette tape out, putting it on my little cassette player, opening this up. Oh my gosh, this was so wonderful. That wasn't. They had page by page plans. I go through the plans and listen to the tapes and go through the plans, listen to the tape, go to the plans, listen to the tape. This was my first growth experience. And the ROI on this $799 kit, it's worth millions of dollars to me. Yeah, you heard me right. Millions of dollars. And experiences and a lifetime of growth. And what's interesting is, now here's what I want you to hear. The value of this kit, the content was good, but that wasn't the value. The content was good. But as I look back now, I say, what made this so special? What made this so special is very simple. This is the kit that got me started. Hear me out. The value of what you do for people is not so much what you give to them as much as it challenges them to get started. Getting started is absolutely the key to life. And by the time I finished going through this personal growth kit, by the time that was all finished, I had 6 months of day in, day out personal growth. And what it did is it developed a habit in my life. And by the time I finished with that kit, now I'm used to spending time every day in personal growth. It got me started. When I walked out to teach you today, this is the first time I was here to teach. I mean, I did nothing. I didn't set up any cameras. I didn't do anything. I didn't do any email. I didn't do anything. I didn't do any. They just said, John, could you get ready to teach the 15 laws? So I've been over there writing and teaching the 15, working on it, upgrading, doing everything else. But everything that you're enjoying today, outside of this teaching, everything has been done by others. And I can tell you right now, when I die, they can put on my tombstone, a whole bunch of people made that man. Because they have. And I'm grateful. And I wouldn't be near where I am today if it was not for them. And in fact, Meredith Sims, who is behind all of the online courses and the digital projects, I mean, this lady has come into our life and she's just absolutely taken us to a level that couldn't get there without her. Now, let me tell you something. Same teaching, same ability to teach, same giftedness, same material, same content, but all of a sudden you get somebody that's really good. And what do? They multiply you. And you say, man, I didn't know I was that good. And they said, you weren't. You weren't. You just happened to have somebody that knew how to take what you had and multiply it and take it up to, they're elevator people. They take you to a higher level. I got a whole bunch of people, they're elevator people. I get on the elevator, they just push numbers and I just keep going higher. And she's one of them. And in a moment, I'm going to throw this back to her because I just value her. And I not only value her, but I value what she does, not only for me, but what she does for you. And she'll talk about an online class that we're doing that's just very, very exciting to me. And you got to understand also that, this is just one law. My gosh, there are 15 of them. And so you say, wow, that was kind of helpful. I learned something from that. Well, here's a thought. If you learn really good from one, maybe you ought to do the other 14. Just a thought. Don't want to expand your mind too great. You know what I mean? But it's just a thought. And she's also going to come out. She's going to offer you something really special, just a scholarship, something for you. And I'm excited about this because everything we're doing is to add value to you. And so, would you do me a just do me a favor? I hope by the end of this day you'll love and appreciate her like I do. But would you just give Meredith a good hand for what she's done today?
Wow, wasn't that amazing? I've heard this concept before, but every single time I hear John, I always pick up on one extra nugget of information that really impacts me. Now, if you think that was great, let's go to one of our faculty members and hear what they have to say.
Well, I think it was Jim Rohn who said that, for things to change, we have to change. And for things to get better, we have to get better. So to me, personal growth wasn't an option. It was a necessity. And just looking back over the years, I think I did it first out of inspiration, to get myself going in the mornings and during the day. And later it became out of desperation. I can remember back in the 1980s, I started listening to Earl Nightingale's cassettes. I don't know if you remember Earl Nightingale.
Yes, strangest secret.
That baritone voice. And I had a cleaning business, and I don't know why I was engaging in personal development at that time. It just felt good. And what I didn't know was I was actually preparing for something greater in the future. God knew about it. I didn't know about it. And so I just kept listening to those messages day after day, pumping it in my brain. I grew my business, but then my two major accounts all of a sudden decided to save money, and they said goodbye. And then I had nothing coming in. I was broke, totally broke. Then I needed personal development out of desperation. And I had played with the network marketing business since 1978 up until that time. And so I can remember thinking to myself, it's been a hobby to me. Now it's got to be a profession. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, something else you're going to have to do. You're going to have to take personal development seriously. And I had no money to get started. I was totally broke. And I can remember sitting on my porch one day thinking to myself, how will I ever get started in this business? I don't have any money. And I looked out and saw the only thing that was left from my bankrupt business was that junk truck. And I said, that's it. That's my ticket. That's the way out. And I called the junkyard. They came out, gave me $400. I put $200 into my products, and that was how I got started. Now, that's not what made the difference. What made the difference was that every day I would listen to audio programs, and I would take notes, and I would meditate on, everything I'm learning. And then I would go out for walks, and I would just envision, okay, how do I apply it? How do I apply it? And I kept going down Dream Street looking at these big old pre-Civil War houses that were built, mansions. And I used to think, this is the way it's going to be. This is the way my life's going to turn out. That house, I'm going to have one just like that. And those rose gardens, you betcha. And I'm going to have my own personal gardener. And you know what? In 18 months, I was moving into one of those houses. And did personal growth have anything to do with that? Personal growth had everything to do with that. I've been reading John Maxwell's books for almost 15 years, and he's had an incredible impact in my life. When I think about it, my first motivation was money-driven. I want to be successful. But then I found out personal growth affects all areas of your life. It affects your life as a husband, in my case, how I would treat my wife, how I would treat my children, how I would treat people in my community, how I treat and serve people in my church. It affected all areas of my life. I think one of the reasons why I keep so many of John Maxwell's books in my home and I read them so much is because our business is built on leadership. It's all based on leadership. The greater the leader, the greater the team. And that's what we really want in this. We want to be able to develop our people, because if you develop them, and they believe in your leadership, they buy into your leadership, they stay with you. And that's so important if we want to keep our people and keep our team strong. So it's not just that I need to be on reading his materials. I need to have all my leaders, reading his materials, using it as a basis for team training. I find it very invaluable that we do that.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I cannot wait to meet you all in class.